The Illagers. A people and culture of soldiers and sorcerers. They live as part of a cruel society, with standards that favour the strong and cunning over all else. Today, they roam the world, scouring the lands in defence of their territories, looking for targets. The playerbase sees them as just the occasional nuisance, a source of valuables to farm from their attempted raids at most. They hide away in their mansions, scheming and plotting against the world and each other. They set up outposts, watching and preparing for anything coming their way. Despite their presence felt, not many consider delving deeper. Many simply ask the question as to why and how, but often stop it there. Today, however, we will do more, and we will uncover a vast and rich history, almost long forgotten, but now dug up and rediscovered. This is the story of how a lineage of brave warriors became one of the biggest threats to their world. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. Disclaimer, this video is a partial continuation of the Broken God theory. If you haven't seen the video, we recommend doing so for future clarity. To understand how the Illagers got to the point they're at, we must journey back to a time of legends. Long ago, 3 fabled piglin hordes crossed over, leaving their fiery home and embarking on a path of conquest and destruction upon the overworld. As one horde is banished and sent back into the nether, with another horde on its way out, the villagers are inspired by a brave hero to fight for their homes. The hosts, the caretakers of the early overworld, disapprove but cannot stop what will come. They arm these noble fighters with what they need to fight the invaders, the Iron Axe. These are the warriors, the predecessors to the Illagers. It is important to note that they themselves are not yet Illagers. The hosts refer to them as villagers rather than anything else. As the host of Foresight states,
"Your actions have inspired the villagers in a way we never anticipated."
They still live in the villages, alongside the other villagers as well, with the host of Knowledge saying,
"Not all of the villagers have chosen this path, but the warriors who have can be found guarding their villages."
So how did these brave villagers, who stepped up against the enemy, become an antagonizing force against all the other villagers? Well, much like real life, the war machine must be fed. When the war with the piglins ends, these warriors are left with no purpose, no war to fight. Not only that, but they are filled with bitter resentment. Resentment towards the other villagers who didn't step up to fight alongside them, as we see in the ending cinematic of Minecraft Legends. Such a sentiment can still be felt today. In Minecraft Dungeons, The Rise of the Arch-Illager, an official canon novel by Matt Forbeck, an Illager evoker by the name of Thord has this to say regarding the notion of another lifestyle, one nearing too similar to the villager way of life. Chapter 1. What would you have us do? Start farming? Build villages? Become civilized and weak? Thord also states this when Archie, the soon-to-be Arch-Illager, brings up the idea of every Illager working together to destroy the heroes. We don't hunt heroes, we just hunt. And we take down whatever we can. That's our way and it always has been. There's no way to change it. The Illagers as warrior people, ever since they were getting their beginnings as villager warriors, have viewed fighting as their purpose and livelihood. Chapter 25. They were a warrior people, always looking for a fight. And to shut them all up inside High Block Keep forever would destroy the core of who they were. Without a fight, the warriors had to find new purpose and a new target. Even the Orb of Dominance, a being of vast knowledge and ancient influence, knows this. When it comes to such military structures, armies that don't fight turn against themselves, as you saw earlier today. Give them a target, and they will serve you just as you serve me. This doesn't just apply to the army itself, but rather the community they're a part of. Their ideology causes them to splinter further and further from their traditional villager roots. Soon, it would break the villagers apart. Villagers since their origins have been a peaceful people. They value their communities and refuse to fight. Their culture exemplifies harmony and working together for the better of the village. The Minecraft Dungeons novel states, the villagers were a peaceful people, so much so that they usually kept their hands hidden inside the sleeves of their clothes to indicate their lack of aggression. The opposite is true of the Illagers. While they do share some sense of community, it is based on the usage of strength and power. For the Illagers, it is all about power. Chapter 2. The Illagers prized strength over anything. To To show a sign of weakness before others could be lethal. For the warriors, it is much the same, turning their backs to their peaceful ways, a core villager principle. To fight in the war sparked a change in ideology, a new way of thinking. Rather than stepping back and letting others fight for them, they would take charge themselves. After the war, however, there was no going back. With such key differences and cultural clashing, conflict was bound to arise. Eventually, they would have to move their separate ways, their values overtaking their respective settlements. To see how, we must look towards the sea. In Minecraft Legends, we are the heroes who have stepped up to defend the world. We journey all over, defending homesteads and villages. But what becomes of these villages as we journey further into the future of the Minecraft universe? As time passes, such places are left behind, but where are they now? Perhaps you've seen them. Maybe you've rode over them, searching the ocean for treasures and riches to survive your manhunts, secure your speedruns, or whatever have you. You see, those old settlements are there, though now lost or diluted to the changing climate. These villages are the ocean ruins at the seafloor. Now, we know the ocean ruins are of villager origin. In Minecraft dungeons, we see statues of villagers dotted about the underwater structures of the coral rise and the trail that it leads into the abyssal monument. We do also know that these ruins were not always submerged beneath the waves. Within chests and the buried terrain underneath, fishing rods, gardening hoes, crops, and even sniffer eggs. The eggs of a terrestrial animal can be found. Such concepts are only feasible on land. How did these oceanic ruins necessarily connect to the ancient villages we see in Legends? Well, they are one of the very few structures containing prismarine, the material of the Well of Fate, the legendary heart of the overworld, and the villages seen in Minecraft Legends, which harbour a deep connection to it. The prismarine blocks scattered throughout each of the buildings and the ruins mark this as a place of significance to the well. The ocean ruins can also be found not too uncommonly from the form of villages, with buildings surrounding a bigger centerpiece. Exactly what we see in Minecraft Legends with its villages. Some of the structures even look as though they could carry the spinning devices placed atop the village fountains that mirror the Well of Fate's almost ocean monument appearance. The centerpieces also appear as such. One of the structures even looks like a fountain that could have appeared from this time. But with the 1.20 update, Trails and Tales, we have seen further life breathe into these ruins with the new archaeology system. With archaeology, we can brush the grounds of these lost villages and uncover the secrets previously unseen. Like with the chests, both the Cold Ocean and Warm Ocean ruins contain about the same loot, other than their respective pottery shards and the sniffer eggs. Coal, emeralds, wheat, wooden hoes, gold nuggets, and most interestingly, iron axes, the weapons of the warriors and now vindicators. Before this update, iron axes had not been a part of the loot table. Their inclusion must be important to have been added now, and it does make sense given the recent release of Minecraft Legends and the evidence of these ruins being the villages from that game. Later in Legends, the warriors appear, brandishing their axes and inhabiting these villages too. But though they once shared space within the villages, this would not keep up for long. With time passing and no compromise possible, certain ideologies would reign over certain villages. Some would follow the traditional villager lifestyle, and others of the radical new warrior one. We can see this in the very architecture of the ocean ruins. Warm ocean ruins, much like the original design we see in Legends, present as more inviting and beautiful, with their ornate archways, intricate designs, and lighter colours making use of sandstone, terracotta, and diorite. The pottery sherds dug up from suspicious sand depict friendly imagery, such as shelter, depicting a tree, and snort, depicting the peaceful sniffers. Unlike warm ocean ruins, cold ocean ruins are less than inviting. They appear more defensive and practical, with structures reinforced with stone bricks, and the occasional block of obsidian alongside fortified towers, similar to those in real-life medieval strongholds. One of these watchtowers even bears notable similarity to those of the pillager outposts. Most of these buildings also make use of spruce and, more importantly, dark oak, the iconic wood used by Illagers. Their predecessors, the warriors, also utilized this wood. Not only that, but they also used spruce and stone in their structures, such as warrior huts, just like what we see in the Cold Ocean ruins. The pottery sherds here also depict imagery less akin to typical villagers, such as the map with the title Explorer, much more fitting of these soon-to-be Illagers, who are known to live in more adventurous nomadic lifestyles, as we see with their roaming squads and the rise of the Arch-Illager book. In chapter 25, when an army of villagers head off to raid a village under the command of Archie, the novel mentions, because many of them were nomads, or at least hailed from a tribe that had once been, the Illagers were used to such long marches on foot. Another pottery sherd, the Blade, depicts that of its namesake, a sword, something regular villagers wouldn't have much use for, unlike warriors. Even the floor decor in one of the Cold Ocean ruins shows swords crossing, further signifying the primary presence of the warriors at this point. Illagers of the modern day do also use swords, if that's a hang-up for you. The statues of royal guards in various levels of Minecraft dungeons show them wielding claymores, large heavy blades. Even Archie, one of the meeker Illagers, brings a sword alongside him to the raiding party at the beginning of the novel. This last pottery sherd of note, however, is especially interesting. It depicts something one would believe to be almost entirely unrelated to these submerged ruins. Yet, here it is, the Mourner Shard. A pottery shard depicting some kind of creature, one that looks like a warden. Have you ever taken into consideration the appearance of the Illagers with their grey skin? Though Legends depicts its warriors as such, that may not have been the case then. The legend of the United Overworld shows us grey-skinned villagers and sandy-skinned villagers. When the warriors show up, the grey villagers remain during and after the war, even judging the aggression shown by the warriors in the ending cutscene. If this really were the case, we would see grey-skinned villagers to this day. We would also realistically see sandy-skinned Illagers too. This may very well be one of several things made myth by Legends. An appearance made to discern the path these warrior villagers would go on. There is more to this story than just what happens in Legends, however. From chapter 5 of Rise of the Arch-Illager, he spent his time trying to avoid everyone else. In the village though, that just wasn't possible. First, Archie stuck out, even in villager clothes. He didn't look anything like them. His grey skin gave him away. Think of it, their skin being pale and grey? Why would that be? It isn't a purely artistic choice to signal them as bad guys, nor is it any kind of makeup or face paint as we see. They just look like that. Now what other humanoid mob would have had such coloration? None other than the Rascal, a cave-dwelling candidate for the 2022 Minecraft Live mob vote. Due to the lack of sunlight from living in those depths, the Rascals would become pale and lacking in the melanin that gives our skin its colour. In certain ways, this is true to real life. Different skin colours came about in different groups located across the world due to differences in sunlight, with people exposed to less sunlight ending up with lighter, paler skin. We suspect this is why Illagers share such coloration. At one point, they had dwelled underground as well, deep down in the dark of those now quiet, crumbling cities. Sharing the same colorations as the skin of the proposed cave-dwelling Rascal already implies the extended underground dwelling, but there's more. The Mourner pottery sherd also implies that the warriors have at least seen a warden in these ancient times. We propose that not only have they seen them, they've lived in the cities where they now slumber. To see how, we need to look no further than the architecture of the ancient cities themselves. This structure is quite peculiar. You've definitely seen them before if you've explored the deep dark biome, with several present throughout each ancient city. Within the files and structure commands of the game, they are referred to as barracks, a type of building to house soldiers, suggesting a militaristic society of fighters. Very fitting for these villager warriors of the past. The city's entryway, an arching array of deep slate curvatures, should look familiar. They are the same type of archways as seen in the Ocean Monument, a villager-made structure created most likely, as the name suggests, as a monument to the Well of Fate, with its noticeably similar appearance. The shape is also found as a centerpiece within the Warm Ocean ruins, once home to not just villagers in their earlier years, but also the warriors. We can also see hints of this being made after the events of Minecraft Legends, with soul sand and soul flame lights placed all over. Also would make far more sense to be made after the height of Piglin power. More people would be slightly more comfortable with exploring that world, as comfortable as you can be in the Nether. We even see this at the time of construction for the ocean monuments, with the sunken portal frame appearing in one of the structures of the Radiant Ravine level in Minecraft Dungeons. Journeying back to architecture, one of the tall ruins of the ancient cities also vaguely resembles that of a watchtower, perhaps similar to the pillager outposts, sharing the same number of floors, as well as the previously mentioned structures of the Cold Ocean ruins. Ruins we now know to have been primarily populated by villager warriors, the precursors to modern Illagers. The existence of camps, watchtowers, and bridges, made with the materials used by Illagers in the cities, implies that it is a place that is important to them, even now, because this place was an important part of their history. The name of the song for the Deep Dark, Ancestry, composed by Lena Rain, may allude to this, with the name not referring to the player's ancestry, but rather to the predecessors of the Illagers, who show signs of recent expeditions there. This was it. Truly, this was the origin of the Illagers, but they were not alone. According to Minecraft Dungeons, The Rise of the Arch-Illager, there had never really been any Illager leaders who had been able to accomplish great big things. Chapter 17. At first, Archie didn't understand why she wanted to make such a fuss. The leaders of the Illager tribe had always been just that, leaders. They weren't kings or emperors or anything else. They didn't have fancy names or special clothes or anything that marked them as exceptional, just the respect of their people. It would be hard as well, with so many Illagers subtly fighting for dominance. As stated earlier, it is all about power in a warrior society. Strength is the most revered trait one could have above all else. Yet strength, as we see, is not enough for such lofty, ambitious goals as building an entire city in the deepest depths of the world. In chapter 22, he had to admit, she had a point about how amazing he was, mostly because the bar for great Illager leaders had been set staggeringly low. To be fair, Walder wasn't the only Illager leader Archie had ever met, but he'd heard of others too. Walder was reported to be the best of the lot, but Walder's wildest ambitions had only involved keeping her people together and fed. So, who? Who could have spearheaded the warriors into making the pilgrimage down to these depths, with such a force to construct a city? Who could have had such power to win the respect of their people? The Enderlings. This collection of giants from another world had aided them in their endeavors. And this is not the only time they would have done something like this. If you watched our previous video on the Broken God theory, you'd know that long ago they had assisted the villagers in creating vast, intricate structures, such as the Gale Sanctum, the Colossal Ramparts, and the Stronghold, all equipped with technology unlike anything they had ever seen. Like the other overworld structures they had inhabited, the cities are large and spacious, fit with frames for giant doorways. This place would prove suitable for Enderlings. Some of the buildings even show signs of what once was Enderling life. The structures known as chambers are considerably notable, with Chamber 1 being the most intact, able to showcase its near full height. The entrance, once again, fitted with a large doorway, would be perfect for such lengthy beings. Within, a chest can be spotted at the top of a counter, one far too tall for an Illager to reach, yet enough for an Enderman to use. An Enderscent even more so. Where the Illagers lived in the barracks, the Enderlings dwelled in their chambers. Chambers are defined as the reception room of a person of rank or authority. With Enderlings leading the way, their presence in these rooms would only make sense, and with the Enderlings at their sides, the Illagers were bestowed new knowledge. You see, Enderlings have a history of having a great prowess for engineering, being implied to have built the redstone golems of Minecraft Dungeons before the Illagers came to use them. Their knowledge of redstone doesn't end there, however. Deep down within the city center exists an old and forgotten laboratory, filled with redstone devices and experimentation. The citizens of these cities experimented with redstone devices. The Illagers of today even carry this knowledge of redstone with them from their days deep below the ground. Looking at the woodland mansions of Minecraft Dungeons, we see many redstone devices and crystals in use. Some fire volleys of flaming arrows, and other devices such as hidden buttons linked to a redstone connection made to open doors. Given their experience with this material, and the reasonable complexity of the devices they've placed, you could assume they've played around with the stuff for a long time. Exactly what we see with the redstone found in the ancient cities. The question is though, where does that leave the Skulk? Skulk, a material resembling a starry night, is packed with souls. When a mob dies near a skulk catalyst, their body and soul is converted into skulk, leaving a blue patch across the ground. It has long been theorized since the introduction of ancient cities in the 1.19 Wild Update that the skulk had originated from another dimension, one beyond the giant frame located atop the city center. At one point, a smaller statue resembling it was labeled as a small portal statue in the files, but quickly renamed in the next snapshot as simply small statue. The structure looks like a portal frame, even made with a special block known as reinforced deep slate. This block is wither resistant, ender dragon resistant, and blast resistant. Not only that, but it takes an obscenely long time to break these blocks. So obviously they harbour some similarities to the end portal with how it's been implemented. Mojang clearly went out of their way to make this structure seem very important, with how hard it is to break. Because of this, the Minecraft community has speculated that the skulk emerged from this ancient device as an unintended consequence of opening the portal. But what if it didn't come from the portal? What if it had evolved from elsewhere? In fact, what if the skulk hadn't evolved at all? Though many have assumed skulk is something from another dimension, that might not be the case. Looking closely at the texture of reinforced deep slate, the frame of this portal, we see that it is actually made with skulk and the bones that emerge from it. How could the skulk have emerged from the portal if constructing that portal meant using the skulk, which would hypothetically be coming from this other dimension? It just doesn't make sense. It is an impossible situation. So if skulk didn't come out of the portal, where did it come from? Perhaps it hadn't evolved as an organism of sorts. Perhaps it was created. Skulk may not be a natural substance at all, and we have reason to believe this as well. Think about the names of the skulk blocks. Names such as Skulk Sensor sound very artificial in nature, even more so when you consider that they can be calibrated using amethyst. Interestingly enough, skulk sensors are even incorporated into the machinery of the cities, used to light the city center and to open the door leading into the secret lab. When they're activated, they emit particles that start off blue but very quickly fade to red. These particles are exactly the same as active redstone, and as we saw, they are highly compatible with the material's mechanics, further indicating their artificiality. And that's not even talking about the monster that emerges from the skulk, with its own name of Warden. This name is very intentional. It could have been named anything else. In fact, it almost was. In previous iterations, it was referred to with the names such as Stalker and the Hollowed instead. Mojang chose the name Warden, going from what could be considered a generic monster name to one as purposeful as to mean guard or supervisor is an important distinction to make. The Warden is not some natural animal of sorts, nor is the skulk a natural substance. The Warden is the guardian of the ancient cities, a kind of golem powered by the death of those it takes out, and the skulk is the mechanism behind it. The inhabitants of the ancient cities were well aware of the purpose and dangers of skulk, having created it themselves. The walls and rooms are lined with wool and carpet, perfect for not accidentally triggering their own defenses. They've devised their own special enchantment, Swift Sneak, to traverse skulk-filled areas. They even have enchanted hoes to trim the growths that spread too far. Skulk is very intriguing. It acts as a self-sustainable defense system. As it takes care of its targets, it is strengthened and grows. Its very nature is fascinating. Though it seems artificial, it is still very alien. A mix of almost machine and magic, made in such a way that it almost seems alive, even though it's fueled by harnessing death. This power must have been developed not just by Illagers, but by the Enderlings that lived alongside them, and this is very prevalent in its design. As many have noted, ever since the reveal at Minecraft Live 2020, Skulk shares various visual similarities with the End Portal and the Void. Its starry night appearance lends itself to some kind of end connection, a connection already prevalent in the ancient cities, as we've seen, and as we will see more of as we move further. This looks apparently intentional, with Skulk being directly inspired by the appearance of the End Portal. As Jappa states in the Minecraft Now livestream, the Warden and Mangroves,
we wanted this to have this cool texture as if you're looking at stars or something. Like it's something weird, something we're not entirely sure about what material it is. And we really like this kind of pattern, like it looks super nice. It was kind of inspired by the End Portal like the stars and the end portals look super pretty, so I wanted to do something with that.
This end-like theme of Skulk doesn't just stop there, however. This connection goes even further with previous concepts for the Skulk and Warden, further tying their design to the power of the end. Earlier iterations depicted the Skulk as almost a textile sort of material, holding the hollowed-out block together as the void can be seen within. The trypophobia-inspired concept for the Skulk shares this voidic quality as well, with their hulls revealing the dark void within. This void is not just referring to the darkness inside, but rather the actual void itself. In earlier Warden iterations, the end portal effect, the visual mirroring of the void, for reasons hopefully clear, can be seen within its holes and openings. A very interesting choice. One that falls in line with the presumed end portal-like appearance of the Skulk in its current state. The appearance of the Wardens is almost reminiscent of that of the Heart of Ender's perfect form, its tendrils mirroring a horn-like shape, as well as sporting a deep frown, like that of the Vengeful Heart. As we journey deeper, we will see that this is not just a coincidence. The Warden's sounds also paint a picture of this connection, being designed by the beings of the end. Besides its various sounds mirroring that of villager or illager-like speech, making sense considering that the villager warriors to then illagers lived here. Wardens also make sounds akin to various enderlings, namely Endermen. When a Warden is charging its ranged sonic boom attack, it can make a variety of noises before actually firing. One of these may sound familiar. Take a listen. Did you hear it? Almost reminiscent of the Enderman scream. Huh. Take a listen again. Only now with a more direct comparison to a sound made by the Heart of Ender. Now that sounds a bit more telling, doesn't it? But that's not all we have to work with. When provoked, the Warden will become enraged. The sounds of it raging are especially interesting. Let's take a listen and compare it with something else. Even more explicit than the sounds before. The sound of a Warden raging is occasionally overlaid with a sound very familiar to that of Endermen who catch you staring. At this point, the end connections are stacking up higher and higher, and we're not even done with them. At one point, shortly after the Warden was revealed, King B-Dogs, one of the lead developers behind the Warden and the Deep Dark, was coming up with ideas to prevent cheesing the Warden. One of these ideas was described as mind-altering, with it apparently being able to enter the minds of players, forcing them to make erratic movements. According to an interview with him from the Minecraft Ideas Academy YouTube channel. That is a very particular type of power to have, though it didn't make it in the final product, primarily due to its complexity. The fact that this was considered is fascinating. That type of mental power over another is actually not something we haven't seen in the Minecraft universe. In fact, we've seen it before the Warden was ever revealed. Since the release of Minecraft Dungeons, Rise of the Arch-Illager, we've gotten to know more about the world of Minecraft, in ways that you wouldn't expect. But what we're here to discuss is what we know about the Orb of Dominance. The form the Heart of Ender primarily takes when outside the End, has the power to enter the minds of others. In Chapter 10, the novel describes Archie's experience as he ventures into the cavern where he finds the orb, stating, "The light grew stronger and brighter as Archie made his way higher and higher. The closer he got to it, the more he felt like a voice was whispering something in his head. In fact, he recognized it, and realized it had been whispering softly to him the entire day. The voice mentioned is that of the Heart of Ender. Archie had even heard it earlier, but thought that it had been only part of the wind. He is shaken to his core to learn that something has been speaking to him the entire time. Archie shook his head to try and knock the voice out of it, but it didn't do him any good. He tried to plug his ears instead, but that didn't work either. Closer. The voice rang in his brain. The Orb of Dominance, the Heart of Ender, is telepathic. It has the power to speak into the minds of others, bypassing language in order to communicate. Yet, it is not the only creature able to do this. The beings of the End also share this ability. Take a look at the Warped Forest, or rather, take a listen. That's static. The noises that sound almost like microphone feedback. The almost telephone or intercom-like audio. Have you ever stopped to wonder what that is? Within that static, the voices of Endermen can be heard as well. This isn't just the case in the Warped Forest. In Minecraft Dungeons, such static can be heard simply by being near an Enderman, just like what is described with the orb. The static and the voice within come from every direction, as if it's in your very mind, and becomes stronger and louder as you step closer. Again, this is exactly what's described as Archie closes in on the Orb of Dominance. During the final fight with the Heart of Ender, we even hear the static, as well as the Enderman voice we know the heart makes, such as in the opening cinematic. The same scene where Archie grabs a hold of the orb. Other end mobs are also able to use this ability. When defeated, Enderscent can be heard casting the static faintly after roaring out. In some unused sound clips for the Snarlings, static can be heard as they're attacking the player. The same attack where all surrounding Snarlings teleport and surround us. Have a listen. Though they sound similar to the Enderscent's death noise, they are distinctly different. The Snarling's melee vocals have more pronounced static at the end of their sound clips, and also lack the initial impact sound of the final blow to the Enderscent, as well as the sound of wind. Wind that would be picking up the Enderscent's remains as it fades away upon death. Listen to this comparison. These sounds are not just placeholders or a simple reuse of assets. They are different, and they both showcase the different utilities of telepathy used by these creatures. The static and the snarling sound effects may have explained how all the surrounding snarlings could so quickly ambush the player, being immediately alerted by the signal of just one. This power would also prove very useful in an environment where conventional speech out loud may grant you unwanted attention. Having telepathic ability is one thing, but what applying that power to another? Like what could have been with the Warden? Well, it's technically out of the question. Not only do the Enderlings have telepathy on their own, but their own technology can even have this trait. This structure, known as the End Pillar in the files, calls upon Enderlings to attention as the player walks within to open the gates linked to them. As you stand inside, static can be heard, the telltale sign of Enderling telepathy in use. So despite the fact that the Warden in its more finalized state does not use this mind-altering ability, the fact that it was at least considered wouldn't be too far off from what we know about Enderling constructs. Now, how could the inhabitants of the ancient cities, both Illagers and Enderlings, have handled the beastly nature of the Warden? They used the Orb of Dominance. The Orb of Dominance being part of the cities is not a far logical leap to make. Not at all. In fact, as we'll see now, and especially later, it may not need to be called a leap at all. If the Enderlings took part in the happenings of these cities, why not the Orb? In concept art for the ancient cities, we can see a visage looking remarkably similar to the form the Heart of Ender takes when attempting to materialize in the overworld, like what we see at the end of Minecraft Dungeons' main story, with the narrow eyes of an end creature present, with the gaping maw of the heart. This is a very interesting choice for the artists to include, especially with all the other end connections present both in concept art and the finalized versions. This brings us back to the Wardens. The Heart of Ender has the power to exert at least some control on sentient life, dominating the hearts and will of other beings. In chapter 10 of the Minecraft Dungeons novel, we see this in action. Archie didn't know how he felt about that. The idea that he could rule even his own destiny, much less rule the entire world, seemed so ridiculous. He couldn't even laugh about it. He could only gawk in utter disbelief. Even then, he felt himself being inexorably drawn to the orb, felt his feet moving him forward to their own accord, and his arms reached out to grab for it. In the opening cinematic of Dungeons, where we see this scene in action, we can see Archie is briefly put in a trance-like state. It is only when the orb becomes too eager with its words and expression does he snap out of it briefly. It is also implied to have used its power over the mind to make the monsters of the night herd Archie closer to the mountain where he finds it. Chapter 25. The entire time he'd been on the run, he'd been hounded by the undead. Every time he'd wanted to relax, they'd been there, groaning and clattering after him, herding him farther north. But instead of them surrounding him and killing him, they'd given him room to escape, which now seemed like maybe more than lucky. why would you question your fortune? It's all part of your destiny. That narrow escape had led him directly to the Hallow Mountain. It had all come together so well, maybe too well. Just stick to the plan. This ability may have helped keep the Wardens at bay. The soul power fueling them contributes to their angry, beastly nature, much like what we see with the Wither. With the Orb of Dominance at their side, they would be put into place. If the Wardens are a kind of golem like we theorized, this could very well be the case. After all, the Redstone Golems, constructs of the Enderlings, are under full control of the Orb, being given life with its magic. The void-like appearance of the Skulk and Warden may be due to such end magic, though in more potent doses perhaps, making the Wardens more subservient to the Orb. The Heart of Ender, of course, can't be everywhere all at once, which is why the cities must be carpeted and laden with wool in its walls and streets. Nonetheless, this civilization had every advantage to use the Skulk and the Warden to their will, and they did. Candles are lit all throughout these ruins, primarily in the city centre, as well as the smaller statues of it, but also at the blocks of chiseled deep slate, marked with the face of a soul. With the use of souls all over, these early Illagers may have begun tinkering with magic and spell casting, magic that is reflective of that of modern day Illager practices. Souls are an integral part of much of the magic Illagers practice. Many Illager artifacts can call upon the power of soul magic. Gear and artifacts such as the soul bow, soul crossbow, the lightning rod, the soul healer, and dark armor, the armor of the Illager royal guards in Minecraft Dungeons. The Deep Dark is full of soul magic, from the Skulk itself to the soul fire and soul lanterns, used as the primary sources of light in the ancient cities. In their time within these cities, these early Illagers may have learned such magic from the Enderlings. Vexes, creatures of soul magic made as some kind of dark counterpart to allies, can be heard within the Skulk shriekers as they scream, being more prevalent when sped up. Their sounds can also be heard multiple times within the Skulk itself, as it is broken. Not only that, but the spellcasting Illagers perform as a whole mirrors end magic immensely. Enchanters, if you've watched the Broken God video, are self-explanatory with their devotion to magic, that we've linked a great connection to with the end. The movements of some of the Illagers are quite similar to that of the Seer, a magic-wielding piglin, who once wielded the Orb of Dominance during Minecraft Legends. Near the end of the game, the Seer enchants the Great Hog's Spear, using power from the Orb. While doing so, they wave their arms about in a manner much like the Ideologers, and the unused mages do in dungeons. In fact, when the Ideologers' ice clouds are summoned in, they glow purple, in contrast to the blue glow when you perform the same ability with the Ice Wand, perhaps indicating magic of end origin, something that would make sense considering their time with Enderlings long ago. The movements of the Illusioner and Evoker, when they're spellcasting, are also very similar to that of the Whisperers, mobs conjured up by the Orb during the events of the Jungle Awakens DLC. Whisperer and Evoker as titles both have interesting parallels, with both referring to calling upon something for their own use. With the Evokers, it's Vexes and Fangs. With the Whisperers, it's the quick-growing vines and the poison quill vines. As they bring out their respective summons, they wave their arms wildly in the air, their arms both glowing with purple auras. The Whisperer even lets out a similar to that of the Evokers, indicating a connection in their types of magic, end magic. With their knowledge of end magic and the power of the Skulk, they may have even crafted new materials. One material being the Echo Shards. Echo Shards are not found naturally within the Skulk, but only in chests within the Deep Dark, alongside the Amethyst Shards. They share a remarkably similar appearance too. Perhaps these were created by combining the Skulk and the Amethyst. After all, the two materials are greatly compatible with one another, with Amethyst being used to create calibrated Skulk sensors, as well as bouncing vibrations to other locations with its special resonance property. But where the end magic really comes into play is the artifacts that seem to hail from these depths. The Ghost Cloak, an artifact from Minecraft Dungeons, has very apparent ties to this place. The Ghost Cloak has glowing star-like patterns across its fabrics, almost like that of Skulk. In fact, like Skulk, it has souls trapped inside, according to its description. Yet this isn't where the connection ends. When a Skulk Shrieker shrieks, it also lets out a faint ringing towards the end of its scream. Take a listen. The sound is present when the Ghost Cloak is used, much more apparent here as well, further indicating the use of Skulk in its making. But what was that sound right at the end of the clip? That was the sound of teleportation. End magic being used within this artifact would align with every other connection we've linked these cities to the end. It even sports dark violet hues. Not only that though, but the unused hide sound effects are almost entirely identical to the Enderman teleportation sound effects as well. A sound also present in the Illusioners. End magic is especially prevalent in the Illusioner, able to make mirror clones of itself, much like the Heart of Ender can. This Illager is a formidable fighter, adorning themselves in violet robes. They even teleport, flashing in bright pinks and purples, making sounds similar to Enderman, the ghost cloak of the deep dark, and sounding exactly the same as the Orb of Dominance when it teleports the Arch-Illager. Take this comparison for example. This connection to the end even extends to the modern day, beyond their use of magic. Within the Woodland Mansions, a secret room, hidden away by all, depicts an end portal room. Even now, some of them may have at least some knowledge of what once was. Eventually, the villagers invade the end for their own sinister intentions, with their newfound unity and confidence since the Arch-Illager's reign. Hordes and armies make their way, traveling deeper to the core of the dimension during the course of the Echoing Void DLC in Minecraft Dungeons, sparking the conflict that forces us to confront the Heart of Ender one last time. Within every ancient city, one structure stands tall above the others. The city center, a complex of hidden rooms beneath a platform with a giant portal frame placed atop. Many have theorized what could lie behind this massive gateway. Besides the obvious, this structure is very important. Not just because it's a portal, but because of what it meant to the people living here. In front of the frame, candles are present all around, indicating some sort of spiritual significance with it. The shape of the portal appears again and again throughout the cities, with special altar-like constructs created, once again with candles placed in front of them. Now, why would the people of these cities take such an interest in this structure and shape? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the Warden. The Warden may sport a gaping maw upon its face, reminiscent of the portal frame. However, its ears are very different in shape to the sides of the frame. Though it did have ears very similar to the structure in concept art, the structure still would have seen a change to follow suit. After all, the concept art for the Warden was created far before the ancient cities were revealed to us, before the Warden was even revealed to us, at a time when the cities weren't even thought of yet. What could this reoccurring shape be? Well, if you've played Minecraft Legends, you've definitely seen it, even if you haven't recognized it. This is the symbol of the Well of Fate, once home to the benevolent caretakers of the early overworld, the hosts. The Well of Fate can be seen with this symbol all over. Special power towers, said to have been constructed by the host known as Knowledge, can also be seen with the symbol carved into every one of these structures, further tying this shape to that of the well. Illagers, even from their days as villager warriors, have been fascinated by the magic of the Well of Fate and the power of the hosts. And in all fairness, the hosts, after all, fitted the warriors with the gear they needed, starting them on this path. In the ending cinematic for Minecraft Legends, a warrior takes notice of two allies, smiling happily before leaving quite abruptly, as another villager tries to speak with them. Even today, Illagers have some kind of obsession with host magic, hunting allies and capturing them for their own intentions, replicating them in their own image. They also continue to use the cross-like plus shape that was present in Minecraft Legends villages, and some of the improvement structures of the Well of Fate, unlike the villagers who have since moved on. At the end of Minecraft Legends, as the overworld has proved itself strong enough to stand its ground against the piglin threat, the hosts see that their job here is done. They leave the overworld and set off on a new journey of their own. The portal at the center of the ancient cities was a monument to their lost worldly caretakers. The Illagers were trying to find the hosts. For what purpose, we can only assume at this point. What truly lies beyond that portal, and if they even went inside, remains a mystery for now. And finally, we are here. I mean, you can't spend this long talking about the Deep Dark without at least taking a crack at Disc 5. Music Disc 5 is the most unique music disc, being found shattered all throughout each ancient city in the form of disc fragments. And this damage is fairly prevalent, even when put together with distortion and time skips taking place throughout. So with all the information we know, and some will gather along the way, we will finally present a hopefully comprehensive series of events that take place within this Minecraft music disc. Step back and relax, because we're going very in-depth. The disc starts off with a crackle of static. Something to be expected from old discs, worn through the ages as this one. A heavy whoosh is then heard, like a gust of wind, or perhaps some kind of magic. After this, we hear the breath of what appears to be a human, our protagonist throughout. They light a fire, disturbing the nearby wildlife, causing a bat to fly off. They journey further into the caves, stepping on dripstone blocks. Their footsteps become drowned out by the distinct metallic marches of armed soldiers that are slowly approaching to get a better look. Right as they're marching, the heartbeat of a warden can be heard. Yet they continue until they come to a sudden stop upon something. The protagonist breathes heavily, and the ringing of a ghost cloak can be heard, with the sound of what may be another kind of magic in the distance. Soul magic, with its ghastly noises being heard. They breathe sharply this time, almost as if they've noticed something frightening. The quiet beginnings of static appear before an end descent calls out, echoing through the cavern. Perhaps to the soldiers of what we've theorized to be Illagers, the audio forwards to music playing, with the main story picking up at 1:05. Maybe a fun detail, who knows. Nonetheless, the bubbling of lava within caves can be heard. The protagonist steps forward and breaks a piece of amethyst, causing the sliding of some stone mechanism, and then a subtle thud, the sound of a door being opened. There at the city centre. Immediately after, the speech of an end descent is heard, with what appears to be a silverfish present as well, indicating that something is keeping the wardens at bay, enough for even smaller critters not to be destroyed by the skulk system. Screeches of what sound vaguely familiar to phantoms can be heard somewhere far off. What could phantoms be doing here? Well, it is unknown, but phantoms are soul-based creatures. This attribution with souls can be heard in their screeches, and seen in the phantom armor made with the bones of phantoms. This armor has the ability to even gather souls. Given the abundance of soul connections the skulk has, it could be assumed that those living here had to experiment with the properties of this power, with soul sand even present in several structures. One of those experiments perhaps has to do with the mysterious phantom phenomenon that fills the night sky, something we might explore in a future video. Right as the phantom stops screaming, however, the clicks of what seem to be pickaxes can be heard nearby. Clearly distant, however. Keep in mind that an end descent could be heard not even 10 seconds ago. Yet these people don't seem too bothered by the lumbering giant hanging around. They just continue working. And the end descent, for all intents and purposes, does not seem to bother them either, indicating a unity, which we've previously theorized. As they work away, our protagonist appears to shovel up a kind of sand, soul sand, another indication of this being the city center. They begin to place a variety of random blocks in a quick, sporadic manner, building some sort of crude structure. The soul sand begins to swirl, similar to what can occasionally be heard in the soul sand valleys. They shovel out more blocks of soul sand, clearing enough space with the swirling wind, intensifying at a rapid pace. Then, distortion. This is a sound that may sound vaguely familiar. Take a listen to our comparison. They have summoned a wither. The sounds of soul sand placing and that of sand swirling upwards already pointed to something magical happening with it, but if you don't quite hear it yet, just you wait. The audio of the disc skips ahead. Something far off is happening. Again and again it occurs. The wither is wreaking havoc elsewhere. The long, drawn-out sound of its call can be heard. If we speed up the audio to 1.75 times speed, it becomes more obvious of what it is. As our protagonist steps back onto the scene, static can be heard. An Enderman is broadcasting a warning, an emergency alert to all that a Wither is here, with more explosions being heard still. The protagonist shovels up and places down soul sand, preparing to create another monster. Once again returning to the city center, with the crackles from what we can only assume being the churning of melting candlelight, burning alongside them. They stop what they're doing. The sound of a mining lift plays out, descending downwards. A piercing noise can be heard before that of fire magic. A type of sound that can be heard with nearly all casting of fire attacks. Aside from the newly ignited crackles of the flames atop the soul sand, all is silent. Our protagonist is stopped in their tracks. The sound of more magic then abruptly breaks up the silence, and the sounds of loose ground breaking, the roar of an end descent, and the screaming of a skulk shrieker can be heard. These magic chimes are something we've heard before. The Orb of Dominance, the Heart of Ender, is here, just as we've theorized. This sound can be heard in the final fight of Minecraft Dungeons, as the Heart of Ender uses a gravity pull attack. Here, it is used to rip a warden straight out from the ground, hence the shrieker screaming, but no skulk sensor heard activating it. Our protagonist steps back slowly, in fear of what they've laid witness to. Here, they make their last mistake. They place more blocks. The warden roars and the disc distorts, speeding forward with the sound of a slowed down Wither dying noise. Our character must have put the soul sand they placed moments ago to good use. One last time. All is muffled, and what's left is the crumbling aftermath of the warden's battle. Who was our protagonist? From previous knowledge, we can assume this character was a member of the Nameless Kingdom, an old, forgotten, vast nation of enchanters who practiced necromancy. The Nameless Kingdom knew of the powers of withers, with markings carved in the red sandstone of their temples. The description of the Gravebane, a special weapon from Minecraft Dungeons, states as follows: a relic from ages of darkness. This glaive radiates potent magical energy to ward off the undead. This description implies a point in history where the undead brought terror upon the world, the undead being controlled by the Nameless Kingdom. Perhaps this is why such potent defenses were implemented in the ancient cities, or why massive constructs such as the colossal ramparts or the strongholds were constructed for defense. The Nameless Kingdom was at one point the greatest threat to life in the overworld, the Wither being their ultimate superweapon, one that would not attack their fellow undead. Even the piglins remembered the destruction they wrought, harboring an intense distaste for Wither skeletons and a superstitious fear of soul-based lights. With what kind of power that fuels the magic of the necromancers and the withers they've created, the Nameless Kingdom has left a lasting mark on this world. At some point, the Illagers abandoned their cities for unknown reasons. Perhaps due to a slow and gradual decline, like in many cases of the real ancient world. Or maybe they were eventually run off. Nonetheless, nothing built can last forever, and the cities remain more silent than ever, without the use of mind magic to keep the wardens at bay. The Illagers are now without the power and the allies they once had. With their homes now left to history, they are left scattered throughout the world, eventually forming nomadic tribes or building structures to dwell in for safety and unity, just as we see in the Minecraft Dungeons novel. They live off hunting whatever they can to survive. The undead who would harm them, the villagers ripe for the pillaging, or the heroes who would dare stand in their way. Life would be a struggle for many, and they would only be able to worry about caring for their own until a familiar power returns to them. That and the promise of greatness, being led by an Illager of their own, with a plan and a power they've forgotten about, but one that knows them very well. They have a chance to take the world, and that is the story of the Illagers. From brave warriors to dastardly, almost sympathetic raiders, their people have been through a lot. So next time you journey into the depths, think about what was, and the kinds of terrors that could have been. Thank you for watching. If you're familiar with the broken god theory, you may recall that it was completely held up by the research and writing of WitherKing001, with this being the second of her major lore installments. If you've watched the broken god video and want more like that from this channel, check out the Who is the Seer video, or the Impact of the Ancient Piglins. If you're aching to see something different, check out my most recent video for my upcoming Vanilla Plus mod, where we showcase the newly revealed, and currently in development, cave biomes. If you want to see other topics covered for future theories, let us know in the comments below. Hope to see you in another video, but until then, have a good day or night.